Welcome back to the Dime Comic Bros podcast. There are only two of the three brothers here talking comics this week. It is Easter Sunday, and I worked a very full day of work. Spencer kind of did his own thing, and Colin decided he needed to spend Easter Sunday with family.
So why isn't he here with family? Like, what the fuck?
Good on him, I guess, for seeing family on a holiday.
No. The family is right here. Like, what is he doing? We're right here.
I don't have friends. I got family.
We're literally brothers.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's up with that, but
Brother.
Why buy a comic that might cost more than a dime? Come meet the brothers who are here to waste your time.
Without him, we will talk about such topics like Gotham by Gaslight, the movie that came out in 2018.
18. Yep.
Oh, I'm good.
It is. Yeah, it was directed and produced by Sam Liu, who is one of the DC animated movie go-tos. It was written by James Krieg, and it's loosely based on the original, standalone graphic novel of the same name, which was written by Brian Augustine with art by Mike Mignola, the funny rock man. So it's Batman, but what if he was in Victorian London? I was about to say London, wrong movie. Victorian America when Jack the Ripper was a thing. This movie deviates a lot from the book.
I don't remember reading the book. If I have read it, I don't remember what happens.
It's I like both, I think, almost equally. That they definitely take different directions with it. It was 2016 to 2019, a lot of the DC movies that were roughly adaptations of stuff did a lot of really weird twists, like Hush, which was horrible, but they were doing this a lot at the time for some bizarre reason, but I think it works well here.
I want to lead off with positives. I like what they did with the different Robins in this movie. Mm-hmm. I think that's a fun idea, having the Robins as orphans that are working the streets and sticking together and working together. And Alfred's like, you guys are so cute. You can work for me.
Yes, I definitely agree.
Cool. And Batman's like, what?
What? I have kids now? Huh? Yes, for sure. My other
like, yes, you are a daddy.
Yes, my bigger big positive for this, which I think is an improvement over the original story, is it actually focuses on the women a lot more. The original book was about, I don't think I have to explain Jack the Ripper to people, but the original story used the setting very well, and the story is interesting, but it kind of, despite it featuring a lot of, women in the book, they're kind of pushed to the background. They're not given a lot of agency. Crazy when there's, a serial killer running around killing women. Crazy. But I think this movie puts them a lot more in the focus of, it actually uses not necessarily the setting, but the actual setup for the movie of using the previously established, Batman's rogues and friends in this setting in unique ways that are actually relevant to the villain. I really like that. It doesn't feel like, oh, wow, look, they made that character into a hooker this time. It actually feels like they're consciously using them in creative ways. And I quite like that. Especially Catwoman in this is fantastic.
That was another positive I had, was Catwoman. I kind of like how her relationship with Batman is portrayed, and the results of them hanging out and doing shenanigans together. I think it works really well. It felt like it progressed really quickly because the story needed it, but also it's like an hour and a half movie, so they kind of have to. But yeah, I think it was fun having Mummy and Daddy for the Robins.
Definitely. I like that they don't feel the need to give her like a victim, like a period inspired Catwoman suit. It's just her performing suit and then like regular clothes, but they're purple, you see, like the Catwoman suit. Like that's all I need. I think it works well.
And she's got her whip like tied up to her thigh under her dress.
I think it really portrays the vibe that they were going for of her just being like a normal person with strong morals. They weren't leaning very much into the super heroics other than Batman himself. And even he's toned down pretty hard.
The animation and just general artwork in the movie is pretty hit or miss. There were definitely several times where I was like, this feels like they cheaped out hard.
For sure.
And
like
especially when Batman is dressed up like Batman, his face is a slab of meat and it bothers me.
I agree. Yeah, it opens up with really strong visuals during the opening credits and setup. And it definitely leads very well into its strong character designs, let's say, out the gate. But it definitely dips off. And I think especially in the action scenes, it's not abysmal. It's just definitely, it's very cheap on that front.
It's choppy in quality.
Yeah, there aren't a lot of smear frames, and the frame rate is kind of low in that sense. They definitely spent well on the voice cast. A lot of these people are like DC alums, despite none of them are the very popular ones, but they've all been involved in previous, DC films before.
Besides Tara Strong as Harley, right?
Yeah, everybody else has, I think, done it like once or twice, but they're not. These are your D-list options for these characters, but I think they're all really good here. I don't know where the budget went on that front because it didn't go to the actors really, but yeah, I don't know.
Now for my big complaint.
Oh boy.
This movie opens up with the logo, DC Alts Worlds. But besides that, the characters are pretty similar, I would say. And I've seen this movie once before, and the conclusion really, really, really upset me. And I watched this time knowing the conclusion, looking for clues as to who could be Jack the Ripper. And I still feel cheated. If there are hints in the movie as to who it is, it's like Scooby-Doo logic.
I agree. I like the twist and I like the reasoning, but I definitely agree it's not planted well. I would argue they really push against the idea the entire runtime, except there's one thing that's a little suspect beforehand, and that's if you're reading into it really hard.
Yeah, it's vague.
Yeah, the twist is cool. I like that they chose a different character than they did the last time. They tightened it up a little bit. The cast is smaller and whatnot, but yeah, it's definitely like, oh, that makes sense. Oh, I wouldn't have been able to figure that out. What the fuck?
Yeah. If it had been justifiable, if a lot of other characters were radically different, then it wouldn't be as much of a surprise. It'd be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I can see that. I can work with that. But
right, that character is the only one that's like very different. Everyone else is kind of adjacent.
Yeah. Yes.
I agree.
That's what bothers me about this movie.
No, I definitely get you on that. I think this is one of the few animated movies that definitely could have warranted another 30 minutes. I mean, it's not the biggest book in the world. I think it's like 4 issues. It's not that big, but even, I don't know, man. Like, Dark Knight Returns was almost 2-hour movies, and that's a much larger series, obviously, and they adapted it almost 1-to-1. But like, I don't know, even Under the Red Hood, which I think that's the other go-to, it's better than the book actually. And that was, I think, over 90 minutes. And that was very, very good. I think they could have splurged on this one, but because DC and Warner Brothers is always in crisis, they probably couldn't justify it financially.
Ooh, fist fight.
That's hockey.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, kill. That's really all the notes I have on this movie.
It's I really like I believe his name is Bruce Greenwood, the actor who plays Batman. He's definitely getting up there in age, so he barely pulls off the 30-year-old Bruce Wayne, but he's definitely got a lot of the other actors who are trying to do somewhat of a Kevin Conroy impression don't have the body to their voice. They can mimic the tone and the delivery, but they don't have the bassiness that Conroy had. I think Greenwood, I think that's his name. I'm pretty confident. He has it.
I think you're right too.
He has the oomph to his voice, so he doesn't actually have to mimic any of the mannerisms. There's some of them that are there, but I think he just actually commands presence without having to try to sound like another actor.
He has the right amount of cadence in his delivery and gravel in his voice.
Yes. This is going to sound incredibly superhero brained of me. He played the president in Iron Man 3. That was the first thing that came to mind.
Wait, whoa.
I know him from other things. He's like 70 now. He's a
Isn't
well-known
he the one
actor
that played the president in National Treasure 2?
Hold on, you might be right.
I don't think it's Iron Man 3.
Hold
I'm
on.
forgetting that movie.
Okay, it is Bruce Greenwood. He's okay. He's only 66 now. He was Pike in the reboot Star Trek movies. That I feel dumb.
He was good in that.
He did a lot of action movies in the 80s and 90s. He was the president in National Treasure 2. God damn it. Stop being smart. He has been in multiple DC productions. I didn't realize it was so many. Huh. That's cool. I definitely think he's the standout of the cast. It was nice for Tara Strong to have a goofy little cameo. That's always fun. She is just great. Just in general.
She played a crazy old bag lady and then is promptly killed.
Yes.
But oh my gosh, I don't get sick of that voice ever.
I think I went on a tirade like 6 months ago about her getting too old for this shit, and I don't know where I was coming from on that one. I think she just needs to be given the right material to work with. You can't have her playing a 25-year-old Harley Quinn anymore. That's not going to fly. But she's just got that energy, man. She's got that. She's a voice actor. That's what she does, you know? That's the most generic statement ever, but it's true. I guess my final.
You have a final.
I'm gonna go. So this is one of my favorite settings, period, for like stories. I have a thing for Jack the Ripper. That sounds bad, but I do.
You have a Victorian kink?
Sure. I really like this setting for any type of story. There's just something about it that tickles my brain. And despite Gaslight not being my favorite Elseworlds book, because it's retroactively the first one, it is still definitely up there. It's a very influential book. I think this makes it into I'd say like the if we're gonna chop up like the animated DC movies into like 4 quadrants, you got the garbage, you got it's bad to mid, and then you have the like mid to good. I think it's in that, and then you have the good to goat, the top 25. I think this is like in it's in the 50 to 75% range. It's pretty good in some spots, but the lacking budget definitely takes off some pegs, because this thing when it goes hard, and then there's some of it like the 3D models just look like hot trash.
Well, speaking of generic mid,
yeah,
mediocrity, shall we talk about The Mandalorian?
Yeah. So the 5th episode of Nope, 6. I can't count this season at all. The 6th episode came out. Mando and Bo and Baby go to, I don't remember the planet's name. It's basically like utopian social democracy. It's basically what it is.
The world if Twitter wasn't created.
That's true. And they're given a side quest, and then
by Jack Black and Lizzo.
Yes, and then they go meet. Oh my gosh, what's his name?
Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah, but the character. What's the character?
Doc Brown.
Brown. There we go. And then they go meet Doc Brown, and then they go on side quest shenanigans, and then they meet up with the Mandalorian mercenaries, and then they have a dance off. I have really conflicting feelings on this episode, like really bad.
I'll come out swinging. A large portion of this episode feels like a side quest that is boring, but also it really felt like the writers binged a shit ton of CSI, and they were like, took a hit and was like, dude, wouldn't it be funny if we did CSI and Mandalorian?
Yeah, it did.
Like, so much, even the dialogue felt ripped straight out of a shitty cop show.
Yeah.
And doing shitty cop show science to find the bad guy. And, it's so cringe.
I can't tell, like, I don't think I have enough goodwill at this point to say any of it is intentionally like what if we did it but funny. I just think they tried to do it and failed, which is really disappointing. I don't know what the hell has happened since the beginning of this show, other than Greg Fraser, the cinematographer, leaving. That's the biggest L they ever took. I don't know what happened with this show, because there's some parts of this I actually don't like. I don't hate. There's parts of this episode that I think are cool ideas. The cameo stuff. I have gotten less grouchy about having egregious cameos in Star Wars because there's so much Star Wars media. It's just going to happen. But there were 3 cameo characters back to back to back. And
it felt kind of pointless. It was like, well, it's time for another cameo.
Yeah, and that's the weird part, is because I'm like, obviously I'm fine even if it's like a known person, like a big celebrity, whatever, and they're playing the role, that's fine. Like, that's just them being an actor. Like, Jack Black is an actor. Christopher Lloyd, Doc Brown, he's an actor, but they don't play it like a role. They play it like a fucking meme. And Lizzo is Lizzo. Like, that's what bothers me more than anything else. I'm fine with them shoving a bunch of people into the show because, like, cool, Jack Black wants to be in Star Wars. I love Jack Black. That's fine. But I don't know. They weren't given any direction for this thing.
Yeah, they feel like background characters. They didn't,
even though they're pivotal to the plot. They don't feel important.
Just said, hey, we have a problem. Go fix it.
It's really weird.
That's it.
So I have to, the first half of this episode, or there's 2 big things in this episode. There's the actual plot, and then there's the Mandalorian bits at the end. The big plot stuff with all the droids going haywire, I'm actually really pissed off about that, because I find it very interesting, because Star Wars, like many media products, continuously is like, what if we make slavery analogies, and then they don't do jack shit with them. Other Star Wars media does this. Solo did it a lot, and it's like, so they just did the house elf thing. That's just what they did. They're like, no, they want to be slaves because they want to be good. And it's like, especially after watching Andor, what the actual fuck? Like, it's genuinely, that's not an oversight. That's just like, you actively said, well, we can't get rid of droids in Star Wars, or like actually treat them like people. We have to treat them like property. So they just justified it. Din Djarin's like character growth of like trusting droids is entirely backslid from 2.5 seasons worth of work. Like, he just hates droids again for some fucking reason. I know, I'm gonna say it. The politics of this episode is genuinely screwed. Like, not even because it's bad, it's inconsistent and it doesn't make any fucking sense. Because they explicitly talk about the separatists and Count Dooku and like all sorts of stuff. And they explicitly make points, and none of it is cohesive. It's intentionally incoherent, and I fucking hate it. Especially with this being so far down the Star Wars timeline, they genuinely could have like put in some effort here and tried changing the droid status quo a little bit, because they're not featured very heavily in the sequel trilogy other than in the background. Like, they could have just put in the effort, and they didn't, and they made them house elves. And then they did another thing from Harry Potter where they did but you actually grabbed the Darksaber, so now the Darksaber is yours. Like, that's the fucking Elder Wand, which was a bad thing in the Harry Potter books, and it's bad here. And it makes me very angry. I understand they didn't want Bo-Katan and Din Djarin to fight. I understand that. One, because it would be too cool for this season, I guess. And because it's conflict, they did, like, I get that that's not a thing they wanted to do, and they screwed up in season 2 by not doing. They didn't have the right person grab the Darksaber, and then they realized, oh shit, we have to fix this. But all of this effort into the laziest option, where it's like, no, you take it. It just, what the hell happened? Like, dude. Even another episode directed by Bryce Dallas Howard, the stupid Mandalorian in Boba Fett episode. It was like episode 6, I think. The first one of the 2 Mando-focused episodes dealt with the Darksaber stuff way better. And this is just shit.
I thought the cop-out of the Mandalorian rule, where he owed his life to her, I thought it was okay. It was passable. I didn't have any complaints about it. But I didn't know any of the lore when it started. So maybe I'm missing out on technicalities of the law.
I wouldn't have hated it, because I remember I talked about the bug droid thing when in that episode, and like, okay, that was supposed to be important, but nothing happened. If they had set this up with any sort of plan in mind, it would have, I don't know, been alluded to previously, but then they waited like 4 episodes to acknowledge that happened. And it feels entirely contrived just to get the bounty hunter Mandalorians back on board. I like the Mandalorian bounty hunters. I think they look cool. And I like that there's variety in the different Mandalorian sects, but like, and then this entire fight, the whole ending bit takes place during the daytime, where the volume is explicitly stated to not look good by the guy who invented it. And it's the worst looking sequence in this entire TV show. And it's supposed to be
sex.
It's supposed to be dramatic, and it looks like Thor: Love and Thunder. I'm so angry. Like, there's so many interesting ideas in this episode that could have been cool, and they fucked all of them. Except the fish people in the beginning. I liked the Mon Calamari and I never remember, but the other species that lives on Mon Cala. I liked the stupid little Romeo and Juliet thing. I thought it was cute, and they're 2 people in big fish costumes. But like, I wanted to like this season so bad, man.
Mandalorian sex. But also, it's interesting, and I wonder if the disconnect is because we had the redemption arc for Din Djarin, and then it's suddenly become, the season has pretty much been all about Bo-Katan since then, because she was there when he redeemed himself, and now we're following her like becoming the Mandalorian leader. And the last 2 episodes or 3 episodes have been about her becoming the queen again, or something. So I think that's where the disconnect is because Mando's playing the background.
First, it's definitely a part of it.
We're really not getting Mando stuff.
It's definitely a part of it, because like,
it's just making for a very, very choppy season.
I think he's mostly a passive character right now, and that was the thing that he was not in the first season. It was he was decisive and like actually just very active character to the point where it was annoying. He would make so many stupid decisions. But like, yeah, it's weird because I don't mind the focus being split up or them wanting to focus on the Mandalorian culture more or whatever, or, you know, the family in the minivan. I want the family in the minivan, but the fact that they ignored his character growth from previous seasons while she was doing stuff that was positive progress was that's really weird because this episode could have been good for both of them with the same setting and the same plot, but they just made him kick over some droids and like be like, "Milady, take my sword," and that was it, basically. Like actual active character choices. I'm sure she's taken his sword by now. I want to watch them have sex with the helmets on.
Mandalorian sex.
My one really strong positive is I'm really glad to see the B1 battle droids in live action again. I love them. They're so stupid.
I'm getting tired of excusing the shitty CG for that's how it looked in the prequels.
Yes. No notes. I think it was warranted like the first time as a cute little, hey, look, we made CGI clone troopers. Like that was fine. But yeah, it's
the droids didn't look good. We've been back to Coruscant and it hasn't looked good.
I thought Coruscant looked fine, but I think it's because it's a very different place than where we've been before, like district-wise. But
also, to be fair, I'm still watching on my phone.
If you're noticing it on your phone, then that definitely means it's an issue. Because usually you would notice those things less on a phone.
Yeah.
And it's weird because it's like the droids are mixed. Mixed race, obviously. In the droid bar, a lot of those droids are practical, like the protocol droids, and I think most of the astromechs, like a lot of them were props, but then they're next to other droids that were not, that were like very clearly CG, and it's really distracting, which is weird because even in the prequels, I thought most of the B1 and the B2 battle droids actually looked pretty okay. After the Phantom Menace was rough, but like they look fine even when interacting with the practical droids like R2 and C3PO for the most part. I don't. Some of it I think is the cognitive dissonance of we know how they move in the animated shows because like they don't move the same way they do in the movies. They're given more limber joints and stuff because it's kind of a kid show and it's supposed to be comedic that they just move like people. You know, like they intentionally make the joints that
I haven't fully immersed myself in all of the animated stuff though.
Like the joints that should be hinges are ball joints, and it's like that's not how that works. Like it looks like a hinge joint and it moves like a ball joint. And it's like it's to make the characters expressive. I understand that. It's an animated show. I think it's fun. But when you go back to live action again and they're trying to do the same thing but in live action instead of just sticking with the robotic like the ones that we got in the prequels in just in terms of like the construction, I think that might be part of it as well. And I think that's a Dave Filoni problem because he's Mr. TV show man and you know he loves bringing his own shit back all the time, and that I think that mentality has kind of bled backwards. I hope next episode at least has Moff Gideon in it because then there'll be some fucking Riz in this place.
On that note, I read a book.
Oh.
And I can't find it.
Oh, no.
I don't like how Goodreads has started losing everything that I've been reading. I put it in my read pile, and it doesn't put my latest read at the top, despite filtering it that way.
That's weird. Really bothering me. It might be doing that if you you didn't put it in the currently reading pile and then complete it. If you just marked it as like completed after you've done it, that tends to do it for me anyways.
Interesting. I read Mafiosa, written by Sunshine Barbido and illustrated by Alessia Alfano and Deborah Carita. I'll read the description from Goodreads. At the height of the roaring 20s, the daughter of a mafia boss is determined to rise to prominence in her family's business. So she is kind of sick of her brothers and her freaking boyfriend doing stuff without her. And mama's all, listen here, you gotta dress up pretty and make dinner for the boys and be a housewife and provide children. And she's like, I don't wanna, I'd rather blast caps into the guys with my brothers. So it's a long winded story about how women can do things too, and they can, but it was based in a mob story.
I like Italian women.
This book was not good. It could have been so much cooler, but it really felt like I hate to keep saying it. It felt choppy. It felt like it wanted to do all of the things that my imagination thought it would be, but it just spun its wheels for so long trying to get the story going that by the time it ended with the fifth issue, it was over before it had even started. Ugh, I wanted so much more from this book. it she becomes the mob boss at the end of the book, and it feels like a big old cliffhanger to like try to get more issues approved, and I don't think it did. But that it the cliffhanger is teasing you with what the book should have been in the first place. Not a fan. The artwork was hit or miss. Sometimes it looked very nice, and other times faces were like, is that even a face? I don't think so. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. I got it for free through a library app.
That's rough.
Quite. I was planning to double down with strong women as my theme and read an Elektra book, but then I started working nonstop.
Damn.
That's the end of my story. I worked really hard this week.
That's good. Doing actual work is kind of important.
But also, I don't have a second talking point. Your turn. What did you do?
So I read The Joker, Volume 3. It's part of the what recently was an ongoing, written by James Tynion with art. This time around, it was, I believe, Sam Johns and Raphael Albuquerque. So it's the finale to this, I think, 15-issue series in total.
Albuquerque.
It's been a big old mystery thing, you know. The Joker, it's falling out of the whole Bane was killed by the Joker apparently thing, and there's a cannibal cult of family and stuff, and then Jim Gordon isn't a cop anymore, and he's getting hired by the Court of Owls to go kill the Joker. It's a whole thing.
Is it a COVID cannibalistic cult?
It is not. That is a reference to our other podcast, Dime Gaming Bros. You should go listen. By the time this episode is up, the most recent episode of Dime Gaming Bros will be available.
Classic.
Self-plug. So yeah, it's the finale of that. Turns out that some of the premises that the series was built off of turns out were false. It definitely feels like they were planned to be a fake out in the long run, but it definitely takes some wild directions with it. It's the finale. All the pieces fall into place. Jim Gordon figures out, I was working for the Court of Owls. The Court of Owls wants to kill the Joker because the Joker knows things that he shouldn't know about some stuff involving Bane and the Bane clone, which is a girl. I mentioned that in the last book, I think. Jacob just got very excited.
You said Goral.
I did say Goral. The weird cannibal family stuff actually coalesces fairly nicely with the Court of Owls things. They're basically rival factions, kind of, even though the Court of Owls is infinitely larger. I thought it kind of nestled together pretty okay. The big twist kind of landed for me, which is kind of surprising. I hate to break it to you, this is a current continuity book. Jim Gordon doesn't actually kill the Joker, which of course is disappointing because holy shit, if they actually did that and he actually stayed dead, oh boy, I would pass out on the spot if DC finally killed their big, moneymaker. But I really like how much crap Gordon went through in this book. It's primarily a Jim Gordon book. I've said this for both of the previous volumes. But I feel like it actually does stuff here. Volume 2 really dragged in the middle. It felt like this could have been like a 12-issue series or so instead of like 15-ish. So the middle was very slow. But the finale kind of goes pedal to the metal. There's a lot of retelling of events, which does get annoying, but it's whatever. Jim Gordon, by the time this is over, it's a spoiler, but I don't really care. He is going to go become a PI with Bullock. And I really like that setup for, I'm hoping, another series, and I hope they keep that. He's finally come to the real conclusion that being a cop is just not going to work. He isn't built for that anymore. And, I don't know, he's been through the ringer, particularly via the Joker's hands over decades. They're almost as close of rivals as Joker is with Batman. So I really like that as a setup. I hope they do a full series for that. That would be really, really cool. Gorgeous art as with the previous books. It's just a different artist, but it's very similar. It sets up the next Joker series, which I haven't followed yet, but I'm hoping that's also good. It's just a new creative team with a new plot, so we'll see how that goes.
You said girl clone.
Yes, Vengeance is a Goral clone of Bane. I bought the book for, I believe, $20. It's in hardcover. I bought it from Jetpack. It might have been $25. I think the hardcovers are very nice. They're very purple. They're very Joker and purple themed. Again, ironic because Joker is a secondary character. He's just the plot driver for this series. But I do think the hardcover is actually quite nice. They have consistent designs between the three of them. They're all different shades of purple. They're well textured. They have nice jackets that are not shit. I hate shitty dust jackets. They bother me a lot. So I think the physical construction is pretty solid for that price. But if you're interested in the series, it would be worth picking up.
Plot driver is Adam Driver's father.
Wow.
I'm running on empty, man.
Let me ponder my orb so I can ponder your orb.
Because I need a question.
So you have played all of the Batman Arkham games, correct?
Yes, I have.
I want you to pitch me what the fifth main game would be in your world. We're not talking about the game that is apparently in continuity, or we're not talking about the canceled games. Just what would you do as a setup, and how would you change the formula and all that stuff?
All right, so to be fair, I haven't I don't think I finished Arkham Knight, but I didn't do the stupid you have to do absolutely everything and 100% the game to get the actual ending.
I would rather do like Dark Souls 1, like Soul Level 0 no hit run than do that.
Yeah, exactly. There were like 1001 Riddler trophies to find, and I was like, I flipped that game off pretty hard. I pulled a finger muscle actually. So I don't remember how that game ends because it was dumb and gay anyway. But
I can tell you very briefly in one sentence.
Do we have to though, or can I just nix that out and pretend it never happened?
I mean, if you want to, you can. I wouldn't recommend that, but go for it.
Because really, they shouldn't have shot themselves in the foot and ended the series. Because now they, as in Warner Brothers, are where they are now, making the Gotham Knights and the Suicide Squad game that are both ass. So, I would do. Ooh. Gotham Knight had a bit of a side quest, I guess, with Azrael. I'd follow up on that a little bit. I'd make him play more of a role in the story, maybe as like a secondary villain or like a secondary storyline. Uh, I'd probably do a lot of bits and pieces, a lot of different threads interwoven. Have Azrael on his own, picture the freaking White Knight 2. I'd probably have Birds of Prey moving around and he bumps into them a couple of times, but not like that. Um, it'd be kind of cool to have the Suicide Squad. Uh, ooh, Joker's dead in that universe, so
I
was gonna
swear,
say
if
have
you
the
say Joker hallucinations, I'll climb through the camera and kill you.
No, I was gonna say have the Suicide Squad kill Joker, and Batman's like, no, you both need to stop. Killing's bad, but Joker's dead, so I can't do that.
I do like that idea, though.
Have
Even if it was somebody else, because the first,
yeah, that's what I was working on. Is who
if it
else?
was if it was them just going after Batman, it would kind of turn into a retread of Origins a little bit.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's easy. Have the Suicide Squad kill Riddler. Because
Oh.
after Gotham Knight, everybody wants to kill Riddler.
Interesting.
Yeah, have the Suicide Squad in there trying to kill Riddler, and Batman is following the both of them around because killing is bad. He's trying to stop it all. And also, he likes the fun puzzles, but he'll never admit it. Have the Birds of Prey doing things. So have that kind of like in Spider-Man or in Batman, actually, when you are listening to the police scanner, just be like the police scanner, and it's like, oh, but the Birds of Prey are here, and they've kicked the bad guy's ass, and they're shooting at cops or whatever. Or, I don't know. I don't think I've actually read any Birds of Prey stuff.
Ooh, you should. I think you'd like most of those books, honestly. They have a very weird publication history, and they have a weird, like, inconsistent cast of characters, but that's kind of the appeal of the book.
The easy answer would be have Court of Owls in there somewhere, maybe as like a minor quest, but maybe that's what the Birds of Prey are doing. I don't know. I do a lot of little things.
The birds are fighting. Who is gonna be the biggest bird?
You like what I did there? I do a lot of little threads. I think that's more interesting than here's an open world, hunt down the Joker eventually, I guess.
That's fair.
But also collect this little trophy thing.
That's fair. Do it in like modular, 4 or 5 equal-ish like size plot lines that you can pick up and drop.
I think that's what Arkham Origins kind of did too.
I think that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I don't know if it had the technology for that yet, but it was definitely trying to be a little bit less.
Yeah, you had the terrorist guy that had 3 bombs hidden in Gotham. I swear I have that line burned into my head.
Oh boy, don't. Anarchy is such a good character too, and man, that was a rough introduction for the mainstream.
But you also had the Penguin doing things, and the main story, and the Joker and Bane are doing things, and like there were a lot of. That's kind of how Arkham Origins was trying to work.
That makes sense. I'd play your game. I'd pay $60.
It's 70 now.
Oh shit! You are right.
What else have you done?
Speaking of fractured and segmented, okay, I'm gonna get all of these out of the way.
Spencer's brain.
True. So I took a break about talking about it for a while, but I actually read all of these like in about 2 weeks. So Nightwing, Rebirth. Volume 7, 8, 9, and 10. There's actually 11, but I couldn't get my hands on 11 because it's only in hardcover. And it's basically a prelude to the Joker War reintroduction of Nightwing. And then that just launches into the current Tom Taylor run. Okay, so this was a fucking nightmare. After the last book, which I liked, it was definitely like a filler. We haven't picked our new ongoing team yet, so we need some people to come in clutch for us. The new team seemed to have been planned to be Benjamin Percy, with Chris Mooneyham doing the art. Okay, so Volume 7 is The Bleeding Edge. It's basically, to be fair, this is the only book that is all about one story, but it's actually the worst one. It's just like a tech-based AI. What if people put black boxes in their homes and the AI crawled out and got in your brain shit? And it's horrid. The only interesting thing here is that Nightwing and Babs do the do, and then they're both like, wait, I don't remember doing the do. What are you talking about? And it turns out the AI actually fucked Dick. It's very weird. It's really weird. I really like Benjamin Percy. I'm quite a fanboy of his writing. This book, he's been very vocal about during this time at DC. No one had any clue what was going on with the Nightwing character. And Tom King at basically the end of where this book ends and where the next one picks up, in the main Batman run, Tom King had Nightwing get shot in the head. So that really screwed over their plans, and that wasn't communicated up until like a week before the next issue had to come out. So I can't even really blame them for this being a mess. Chris Mooneyham is like, his art is similar to, I'd say, somewhere halfway between Romita Jr. and Frank Miller, and it's not a positive. It's inconsistent. The proportions are wonky. I really don't like it. I want to like that.
I just hurt myself making the stinky face when you said that.
I want to like that type of an art style. I understand what people are going for with the like big blocky kind of oversized proportions. I just never see it work. And it's really rough here. The coloring's okay, but this book barely makes any sense. The villains are all one-off what if robot, but it had hips, literal love handles, and I can't do it. It's so bad. Volume 8 is Night Terrors. It has one issue done by Benjamin Percy, which is the setup for the next storyline of him going, oh, fuck, you guys made me rewrite all of my crap. I'm going to leave. So he left after this, and I can't blame him. The rest of the issues, I believe, are written by Travis Moore with art by art by Travis Moore and Fabian Nacizia. And it was written by Scott Lobdell, another writer I don't dislike. This is where this book gets weird. This was very like a very public. Everyone hated what was going on, so they made fun of it. It's like what's going on in the Spider-Man book right now, where Spider-Man's kind of getting cucked out with MJ. It's a whole thing. Like everyone kind of knows about it. Nightwing loses his memory, becomes a new character called Rick Grayson, who's basically just Jason Todd. Doesn't want to be Nightwing anymore, yet is immediately doing crime fighting. And then a bunch of cops and firefighters find the old Nightwing suits, and they become a gang of Nightwings. I actually think that's kind of a cool idea, but this book, all the rest of this is fucking hot trash. I don't dislike the love interest during this period is kind of okay. Rick falls in love with a girl who works at a bar he likes. She's okay. And I like the idea of him losing his memory and, like him putting the mantle away because he doesn't remember who that person was. You have all these people around him mourning, like Barbara and Bruce, mourning a person they basically think is dead. And he's like, I don't know who the hell you guys are. Like, it's interesting material, but it was, I don't remember whether Tom King wanted him to lose his memory or what. So I don't know if this was their decision to work with it or if this was just their own idea. It's not good. The squad of Nightwings is kind of cool for about 2 issues, and then it gets really old because they have the same dynamic. Volume 9 is Burnback. It's just more of the same. It's more Nightwings doing Nightwing stuff, and Rick becomes the leader of the Nightwings, but he's not Nightwing. He just like puts ash over his eyes. It's so weird. I don't get it. And more illustrations by Travis Moore. I'm not a fan of his art whatsoever. 10 is, it gets a little bit better. It's the Grey Sun Legacy. It loops back around to the Court of Owls stuff. Finally, it's been a while. The beginning of the Tim Seeley run was the last time we saw the Court of Owls in this book. So it's written by Dan Jurgens with most of the illustration. There's a couple issues done by Travis Moore and a few more done by Ronan Claquette, someone who I have no familiarity with. It's still really messy, but it is interesting because now Rick Grayson has to war with his grandfather, one of the Talons, and is like, you were born for this, and this mother, he's literally like, I don't know you. What the fuck are you talking about? Because this whole series is about him building his own destiny and blah, blah, blah. So it's a little bit more interesting. It's still not great. It also ties in with the Year of the Villain event, which I believe happened during Death Metal. It might have been regular metal. It was like the back issues, basically. Like it was just it might have been between the two. I don't remember. It was just a year of villain-centric stuff, whatever. So Lex Luthor pops up here and does nothing. It's really bizarre. Yeah, and then it ends with an interesting setup of the Nightwing gets back on the news or whatever, and then Joker's like, "Hey, that's my kid. What are you doing? That's my Robin. I should beat the shit out of him." And it's really awkward, but it definitely sets up the next arc about him being like the first Robin and Joker torturing him. Whatever. It's such a tease for the next book, and I haven't heard much positive about the next one either. I'm not going to get a hold of it until it's in paperback, and because it wasn't popular and didn't sell well, it might be a while. I really want to get onto the Tom Taylor stuff pretty soon. Those are starting to come out in paperback, and I don't think that run's gonna end anytime soon. So I'm not gonna wait. I'm just gonna get in on them paperbacks while it's ongoing. I bought all of these for between $15 and $20 at Jetpack and Stairway to Heaven. This was misery. And that's why I have to get it all out in one go. I'm not going to talk about this for 6 weeks. It's so bad. They clearly had no clue what they were doing. None of the artists or writers had any time. Editorial must have been a nightmare. And it wasted a lot of good material. And it leaves me feeling so empty.
While you were doing all that words and stuff, I was thinking about the question you recently asked me. And if I had to play by the rules,
whether or not you're marrying me?
No. If I had to play by the rules of life with the decisions that Warner Brothers have made with the Arkham series and with voice actors retiring or passing away, if I had to make another game in that series, I'd probably just scrap it all for the most part and make a Batman Beyond game. Like just go full Terry McGinnis, get an older actor, maybe even Bruce Greenwood himself, to play Bruce Wayne as the old Batman that cannot go out and party anymore, and just rebuild and make a multi-million-dollar trilogy of games in that universe.
I don't dislike that idea at all. But also, I think a cool part of that would be because the Arkham games were kind of viewed as like a grown-up DC animated universe, sort of. It would be interesting to see the ways that stuff could have differed because of the differing paths that the different villains took. A lot of them are dead and weird and stuff. That could be interesting.
Yes.
I think that was one of the canceled versions that they had, because the game we ended up getting, or games, whatever, they started working on the next Arkham game like the second that Night dropped. And they had, I think, like 3 or 4 different versions that they had started work on and had to cancel for some reason. I think one of them was a Batman Beyond game, I think. So clearly you're not alone in that thinking.
You know who else goes beyond?
Our patrons.
Yes.
Our patrons over at patreon.com/dimecomicbros network.
Jeff Lawrence and Caitlin have both gone beyond the general listening audience and went to Patreon and gave us some of their hard-earned cash to help support the show and everything that we do. And we appreciate all of the love and support that we get.
If you would like to support us financially, you can go check out our Patreon. We have a bunch of different tiers, including getting mentioned in our episodes, stickers, bookmarks. We're actually doing the bookmarks this time. They've already been ordered, finally.
And we're getting new stickers.
We are getting new stickers with a new season coming down the road. Design. Yeah, we're getting a lot of new stuff in the incoming months, as well as early access to all of our podcasts, exclusive access to happy hour segments, which after each podcast, we kind of unwind, crack open a drink, talk for 30, 45 minutes, just talk about random life stuff, maybe more nerd things. It could be anything. Those are all exclusive to our Patreon, usually because we drop very spicy, weird takes, and we call each other by our real names, which is a secret, I swear. Also, a big thank you to our partners over at Jetpack Comics and Games in downtown Rochester, New Hampshire. Over at the Mega Store, they will use your real name because they remember a lot of their customers. It's very disturbing. You can get all sorts of crazy nerd comic stuff. There's books, collected edition books, hardcover, softcovers, omnibus. Yeah, I said it. Swag, t-shirts, book bags, statues, lightsaber toys, all the fun stuff you could want in the world. And if they don't have the thing that you want, they can order it for you, and they might even ship it to your house for you. So all sorts of crazy stuff over there.
Do they have the lightsaber toy that mom always hid under her bed?
No, I don't think so. Maybe. Don't quote me, but they could. You never know. Next week is a news week.
Wait. When you go to Jetpack, ask Rich if he has the lightsaber that was under your mom's bed, because that one was always the coolest.
Oh, dear God.
I'm sure he'll help you.
Don't tell him that we told you that. My word. They have some modicum of respect for us. We should probably not tarnish that. And before I forget to mention it, speaking of Jetpack, upcoming, we have Free Comic Book Day, the first Saturday in May. It is the 6th. We are going to have a booth over at the Governor's Inn, like we have for the past couple of years. We'll be set up with a bunch of other comic creators, publishers, sellers of all sorts of merchandise. We're going to have our own booth. We'll have swag, some free stuff, some stuff to buy. Colin's going to be selling a lot of prints of his illustrations. And, we'll be there to sign your stickers. So when we're rich and famous, you can sell the stickers and get money, because that'll happen. So make sure you swing by our booth. It would be greatly appreciated. We'd love to see some people in real life that already know who we are, instead of us introducing ourselves all the time. That, again, is May 6th. It's like all day. I'm going to say this every week until that week, because advertising. Woo. Next week for the podcast, we will be talking about a lot of news stuff. A bunch of DC stuff dropped. A bunch of Star Wars stuff dropped because Star Wars Celebration was this past week. So we got a lot of trailers and whatnot, as well as another episode of The Mandalorian, and hopefully Colin. We'll see. So
is that the end of the credits there, Mr. Rubin?
I think so. Rubin, I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about.
You said we have secret names. I was following up on that joke.
Oh.